welcome back to the deep dive. Put your hands at 10 and 2, because today we are focused on, well, that fine line between control and chaos.
We are. We're talking about those invisible dynamics that decide if your vehicle stays exactly where you point it or if it decides to go on a bit of an unscheduled sideways adventure.
It's such a fascinating topic. We talk a lot about engine power and braking, but these side forces are often forgotten.
They are, and they're arguably the most crucial safety factor. So this deep dive is all about vehicle dynamics, unpacking the subtle, the persistent push of lateral forces.
And how they impact stability, handling, and really the predictability of your car.
Right.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We've gone through a stack of sources exploring these side forces, the mechanics of the slide itself, to arm you with some predictive knowledge.
To move beyond just reacting when something goes wrong.
Exactly. When you understand the physics, you can almost anticipate the exact moment the tires are about to give up.
That's the goal, because the essential challenge every vehicle faces is managing that equation, where the lateral force, the side push, exceeds the available grip.
You're constantly in a dance with physics then.
You are. You're trying to generate just enough side force to make a turn, but never, ever so much that you overwhelm that friction holding you to the road.
Okay, so let's get right into the nuts and bolts. We should start with definitions. What even are these lateral forces, and what's the one thing that resists them?
Well, to put it simply, lateral forces are just forces that act perpendicular to your direction of motion.
Perpendicular, so sideways.
Sideways, exactly. Think of a line running through your car from nose to tail. The lateral force is anything pushing on that line from the side.
And we usually think of hard cornering, but they're always there, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Even in a subtle lane change or when a gust of wind hits your car, they're always trying to push you sideways.
And the resistance, the thing that keeps us sane and rubber side down, is grip or traction.
That is the core relationship. A slide happens the moment that lateral force exceeds the vehicle's, its traction limit.
So if the tires can't generate enough counterforce,
Then the laws of motion just take over and you slide. It's that simple.
the research we looked at poses a really critical question for you, the person driving. How do you recognize when you're approaching that limit?
Because most people only realize they've crossed it when the ABS starts grinding or the car starts to twitch.
Right, too late.
It's all about understanding the relationship between speed and direction change. I mean, if you make a gentle steering input at 20 miles per hour, the side force is minimal.
But if you make that same input at 40,
You might have just generated 4 times the side force. You're demanding exponentially more grip from the tires.
so if you can recognize the components that create that force, you could start driving with a more predictive mindset about your available traction.
That's it. And that's the perfect setup for where we're going next.
The sources break it down into 4 specific lateral forces that are constantly fighting for dominance when you drive.
Indeed. It's helpful to think of it like a balance sheet. You've got, say, 2 forces that are liabilities that are trying to make you lose control, and 2 that are assets.
The tools you use to maintain control.
Precisely.
Okay, let's start with the big one, the outward push we've all felt. Centrifugal force.
Centrifugal force is that effect that makes you feel like you're being thrown toward the outside of a turn. It's an inertial force, really. It's just your body's mass wanting to continue in a straight line while the car is forcing it to turn.
It acts directly outward. Now, I have to pause here because, for some of our listeners, they'll remember from physics class that centrifugal force is often called a fictitious force.
Yeah.
Does that distinction actually matter here?
That is a great question. And, in a purely external frame of reference, it is fictitious. It's just inertia. But in the non-inertial frame of reference of the driver,
My frame of reference.
it feels very, very real. So when we talk about vehicle dynamics, engineers treat it as a real force vector because it's the primary outward push that the tires have to resist.
And the most critical detail about this force, the one that should genuinely change how you approach a corner, is that it's proportional to the mass of the vehicle and the square of its speed.
That speed-squared relationship is, I think, the single most important takeaway from this whole deep dive.
It's huge.
It explains why a seemingly minor increase in velocity has such a massive consequence for stability. If you increase your speed by just 20%,
You don't just increase the demand on the tires by 20%.
not at all. You increase it by 44%. It means the force trying to push you off the road just escalates dramatically as your speed climbs.
So the only thing standing against that is our second player, cornering force.
This is the grip we need. This is our asset. Cornering force is the lateral force that the tires generate by deforming and gripping the road surface.
It's the friction doing its job.
It's the active job of the tire allowing the car to change direction. And this force is influenced by, well, by everything, right?
Tire design, pressure, road conditions.
Exactly. On dry asphalt with good tires, you have a massive capacity for cornering force. On ice, that capacity shrinks to almost nothing. Engineers spend billions designing suspensions and tire compounds just to maximize this force.
Because it's the only asset you have to counter that centrifugal push.
That's the battle.
Okay, moving on to the more disruptive forces. Number 3 is wind force.
Wind force is so often overlooked until you really feel it. It's just the lateral pressure created by air flowing around the vehicle.
I mean, it's highly situational.
Highly. Think about driving a boxy delivery van or a big RV across a bridge in a crosswind. That sudden lateral blast, that's pure wind force trying to push you out of your lane.
And it's particularly dangerous because it's a sudden external force that you didn't initiate.
And that brings us to the force you do initiate. Steering forces.
These are the forces created by your input through the steering system. They're the initial command that determines how aggressively you ask the tires to generate that cornering force.
The key here is intensity. A gradual, measured turn generates a gradual steering force. It allows the tires to gently build up their cornering force.
But a sudden jerk of the wheel
Creates a massive, abrupt steering force demand, which can instantly exceed the tire's capacity, especially on a slippery surface. The steering force is your lever, you know. It's how you modulate the tension between the other forces.
So to recap the players, centrifugal and wind are liabilities pushing you out, while cornering and steering are the assets you use to keep control.
Right. So the real question becomes, when does that delicate balance actually fail?
Now we're moving from the forces themselves to the practical causes of a slide.
And we can look at this in, say, 3 major categories: driver action, mechanical failure, and then the critical issue of weight distribution and momentum.
Okay, starting with driver input. I guess the simplest way to crash the system is to just demand too much grip.
Precisely. The 2 main inputs that cause failure are high-speed cornering and sudden, aggressive changes in direction. Swerving.
In both cases, the driver's steering input is demanding a level of cornering force that the tire just can't provide.
Given the speed and the road surface, yeah, it's asking for the impossible.
But sometimes the failure isn't the driver. It's the equipment or the environment introducing an asymmetry.
Yes, mechanical issues can dramatically reduce the available cornering force, and often just on one side. For example, a weakened suspension component.
How does that cause a slide?
Well, when you enter a turn, the body rolls. That roll transfers weight away from the inside tires and loads up the outer tires. If the suspension can't manage that load transfer, the inner tires can lose their friction contact.
And the vehicle's total grip just plummets.
It plummets. And component failures are often instantaneous, which is what causes the chaos. Think about a tire blowout or a brake binding unexpectedly on one wheel. A blowout reduces the contact patch to near 0 on that corner. A binding brake introduces a massive drag force that acts like an intense, unwanted lateral push.
And both instantly shift the vehicle's dynamics.
The sources had a fantastic, really tangible example of this imbalance. Driving with 2 wheels on the pavement and 2 on a gravel shoulder.
So simple, yet so dangerous.
It's the ultimate demonstration of asymmetrical traction. The wheels on the tar have a high traction limit. They can generate huge cornering force. The wheels on the gravel have almost none.
So if you try to steer back onto the road,
The tires on the pavement suddenly grip hard and try to turn the car, while the tires on the gravel just keep sliding. This creates a massive, unbalanced lateral push that almost guarantees a spin. The side with high traction tries to over-rotate the vehicle around the slipping side.
that brings us to the final and maybe most crucial category: momentum and weight distribution. This is where we get the famous terms understeer and oversteer.
Yes. And we need to go beyond the basic "the car pushes wide" definition.
So what's happening mechanically with understeer?
With understeer, what's happening is that the front tires have reached 100% of their lateral slip capacity, meaning they're sliding sideways before the rear tires have.
So you're turning the wheel, but the front tires can't generate any more cornering force. The car just plows straight ahead.
It follows a wider path than you intended. The front axle has lost its battle against centrifugal force.
So what's the corrective action based on what we've learned about these forces? The driver's instinct is to turn the wheel more, isn't it?
Which is exactly the wrong thing to do. That just scrubs off any grip you had left. The real corrective action is to gently ease off the throttle,
Why?
because easing off the throttle shifts the vehicle's weight forward. That momentum transfer increases the pressure on the front contact patches, which often restores just enough cornering force to bring the front end back into line.
Fascinating. Now let's flip it. Oversteer.
Oversteer is the opposite situation. The rear tires reach their slip limit before the front tires do. This is when the back end starts to kick out. The car rotates too sharply into the turn.
The rear axle has lost grip, and the vehicle is basically spinning.
It's spinning around its central axis, yeah.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
And it requires the exact opposite kind of correction, right?
Right, it does. The correction for oversteer is usually to steer into the skid countersteering, while sometimes, depending on the car, lightly applying the throttle.
Wait, you applied the throttle.
On a rear-wheel drive car, a very precise, gentle throttle application can help stabilize the slide, while the steering correction aims to align the wheels with the new, unintended direction of travel.
So if you mix those two up, if you accelerate into an understeer or lift off the gas hard during an oversteer,
You just make the slide worse. You compound the problem. Understanding that understeer requires shifting weight forward to restore front grip, and oversteer requires stabilizing the rear, that's the difference between reacting to a surprise and actually managing a dynamic situation.
that truly was a deep dive. To quickly summarize then, lateral forces are the side forces demanding grip from your tires, and they're resisted by cornering force.
And we broke down the four main forces: the exponentially growing danger of centrifugal force,
The necessary resistance of cornering force.
the sudden disruption of wind force, and the modulation tool that is steering forces.
And we covered the many causes of sliding, from mechanical failures and asymmetrical traction, like that gravel shoulder example, to the critical distinction between understeer and oversteer.
This knowledge is, it's foundational for engineers building safer cars. But for you, the driver, it's about anticipating that invisible push.
It's about knowing that the road surface, your speed, and your steering are all things you can modulate to stay within the limits.
To make sure you never ask the tires for more than they can possibly give.
We want to leave you with one final thought, tying back to the physics of velocity. Since centrifugal force, that primary force trying to push you off the road, is proportional to the square of your speed, just think about what that means when you double your velocity.
You are quadrupling the job your tires have to do. What critical margin of safety did you just use up? And what margin do you need to restore on your next drive? That's the calculation to mull over.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.